Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Hey, this is Hack the Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I am your host, John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. Today's guest is a podcaster coach, and he's currently the founder of two successful companies. Back in 2010, he brought Pure Bookkeeping to life in Canada. They've recently grown and expanded into the United States. Pure Bookkeeping is a system for helping bookkeepers manage, grow, and scale their bookkeeping businesses. He's also the co-founder of eCircle Academy, where he helps coaches and consultants grow their businesses. He's also the host of the Thought Leaders podcast. Now, let's hack Michael Palmer. All right, here's a question for you. Have you ever considered starting your own business or launching a startup? If the answer is yes, then you're probably going to want a great logo design as well as business cards and a website. This is where Design Crowd can help. Here's how it works. 4 simple steps. Step 1, visit designcrowd.com/hack and post a brief describing the design you need. For example, a brand new logo. Step 2, Design Crowd will then open your project to their 550,000 plus designers to respond. Step 3, within hours, you will receive your first design. And over the course of 3 to 10 days, a typical project will receive 60 to 100 different designs from designers around the world. The 4th and final step, all you need to do then is pick the best design, and the designers get paid. If you don't find a design you want, no problem. Design Crowd has a money-back guarantee. Crowdsourcing design on Design Crowd helps you access the collective creativity of hundreds of thousands of designers, and it will save you money, time, and help you find the best design possible for your budget. Right now, you can also get a very special offer from Design Crowd. Check out designcrowd.com/hack. That's DESINCROWD, designcrowd.com/hack for up to $100 off your very first project. We're back with another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur. And today we have a very, very special guest. Michael, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here.
Oh, I hope so. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And yeah, it's always nice to have a fellow Torontonian on the show.
Absolutely. And what better way to spend a day than being hacked?
Exactly. So what do you say? Should we jump into this?
Let's do it.
All right. Michael, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me, what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
It would have to be curiosity. I have always been curious to figure out how something works. If I see something I like or something that I think is cool, I want to take it apart. I want to try and put it back together again. And I've done that my entire life. And I think what that has enabled me to do is to first be looking elsewhere other than just what's right in front of me, but to look at multiple things. I've always been interested in multiple things. So whether it's construction or real estate or business or sport or music, it's eclectic and I'm always looking and I'm just curious.
I like it. So, okay. So this construction, real estate, are these like sort of games you've dabbled in the past, or were those just examples?
I have dabbled in just about everything. I've tried everything. I've dabbled in everything. And along the way, a few things have stuck and some things have not. But I've gone in. If I was having a conversation with somebody and we were talking about life and different things, I'd be able to jump into a conversation quite easily because likely I've done it. I mean, I could sit with a quilter and say, I've sewed before. I know how to sew things. I know how to fish. I know how to hunt. I know how to do all these different things. But there's only a few things that I could say that I'm actually an expert at, but I've tried a lot of different things. And I think those different experiences of being able to get in there and try it and to explore it and to understand it has given me the ability to do a whole bunch of different things in my own business around my own expertise that I probably likely wouldn't have been able to do.
Nice. I like it. And okay, so that's cool because I mean, it makes sense with what you're doing now is, I mean, our pre-call was you have several different things going on business-wise. They're very different from each other. Yet, I mean, like Pure Bookkeeping Canada is your like sort of main business that you've been running for 7 years, right? So this idea of you loving to dabble in things with curiosity and try all these things out. But I mean, you've stuck it out for 7 years.
Yeah, it's one of those that actually stuck. And before that, there were a whole bunch of other things that I've done. And if we looked at my career path, I've done a lot of different things, but there is a common theme, just like the common theme of curiosity. The common theme in my career path definitely would have been, promotions, sales, marketing. I've always been interested in how people actually come to buying something, like how to, get excited about something. I've always been somebody who would share things. And, if I saw a good movie or, tried a good product, I always loved sharing it and promoting it. And so there's common themes, but Pure Bookkeeping, and it's North America now because we launched in the United States this year, which is exciting. Pure Bookkeeping stuck because I think it embodies a lot of my passions. I mean, it's an online business. It's a coaching business. It's a business that provides standard operating procedures to bookkeeping firms. So I actually get to help bookkeepers grow their business, make more money, have better lives. And they're the people that help small business grow their business, understand their finances better, put more profit in their bank accounts, and help their businesses grow and thrive. And I love small business. I love business. My father, my mother, my grandparents, my sister, my cousins. I mean, everybody in my family has either been in business at some point or still is in business for themselves. And so I grew up amongst this. And it's Pure Bookkeeping is me helping people like that be successful. So I have a really, really close connection to the purpose, my purpose, and what I do with Pure Bookkeeping. So that really, really helps. Plus, I love technology. I love figuring things out. I love sharing what's awesome. And I love our product because it works and it works great and it delivers amazing results for people. So, figuring out how can we get this in the hands of more people, it's been fun. It's like a lab. Every day I wake up and make my 20-step commute into the office, and I'm figuring out how do we actually get this to grow? How do we get this in the hands of more and more people now that we've launched in the United States? I mean, it's a massive market. And it's been very actually challenging, which I love. I love challenges. I love figuring things out.
So this idea, it's like 7+ years with Pure Bookkeeping. So people, you're listening, you're going to go to purebooking.com and you're going to see 7 years of iteration, growth, and sort of like development of a business, right? And it's hard sometimes because we see it after 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears put into it, right? By you and your team. But can you sort of take us back, Michael, how did this start? And at what you keep talking about, like how it stuck, but I would like to know what was different and at what point of Pure Bookkeeping was different from everything else you had tried that didn't quote unquote stick for you.
Well, going back, I mean, I've always been interested in business. So at a young age, I started small businesses, really small businesses, right? And, that was the beginning. Went to business school and university, studied business, and then was very entrepreneurial throughout university, had a couple of businesses, really successful business, not huge, but like really profitable businesses that put me through school, and I was able to, buy real estate and different things like that while I was going to school. It was really cool. But again, it was all just curious, like, cool, let's figure out how we can do this. And then when I finished school, somebody said something to me. They said, when are you going to actually get a real job? And, I actually took that on, and I thought I made myself wrong. Like I was doing something wrong. I don't know what happened, but maybe it was just a part of my journey. But I actually decided that, I got to go get a real job. So I went and worked in the corporate world for 10 years, doing a whole bunch of different things, management, sales, project management, marketing, these sorts of things for some pretty cool companies. Dun & Bradstreet, large company, bit old, but learned a lot of great things there. And I went to salesforce.com, incredible company, very dynamic, watched it grow like a weed, and learned a heck of a lot of things about CRM and process and execution on plans and ideas, right? But again, I was like, you know what? Deep in my bones was being free, being creative, wanting to march to the beat of my own drum. And so whilst I was in the corporate world, I was constantly looking for how do I get the hell out of here? How do I get back to what I was doing before? And realized that comment was just a bunch of BS and sort of plied into my own insecurities. And then I left. And the opening that I saw for me when I left Salesforce was I actually got into coaching. Now, was coaching business owners and doing coaching and got trained as a coach and started a small coaching practice with the aim of being able to travel around the world. And I did it. I created a company, had clients, it was fun, it was interesting. And again, it was like, how do we do this? How do we figure this out? How do we get business? How do we run it from the telephone and the internet and be able to be mobile so I could go anywhere? And I ended up living in Australia for 2 years. And when I was in Australia, I met a fellow who was looking for some help growing this business and met through a common friend and sat down with him. And he told me the story of Debbie Roberts. And Debbie Roberts was a bookkeeper for 20 years and then decided to go into business for herself. And whilst she had no problem getting clients because she was a great bookkeeper, she was failing at the business end of it. She was working harder, making less, and just the business was out of control. And so she met this business coach who talked about loving your business. If you love your customers, you love your business, you love your product, you will get love back. And so his name was Peter Cook, and this was the fellow that I was sitting down with having coffee. And he told me the story of how he coached Debbie in the philosophy of Michael Gerber's E-Myth, which I instantly got because I had read the book and I had implemented the book in a side business that I owned. It was a bistro that I owned with my mother, and we implemented systems, process. How do we make this thing run smart? And so I got it. It's like, yes, I understand. So what he did is he coached Debbie over 6 years where she implemented systems and processes for everything in the business. And at the end of it, she had 12 bookkeepers working for her. She worked 1 day a week in the business. Everything else ran itself. She could leave the business for 6 weeks. I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. So what they had decided to do was take all of that system that they had built and license it to other bookkeepers to help them grow their business. And they were just launching it. And this is cool. I like the idea. And it was an opportunity for me to make some more money. At that time, I wasn't making as much money as I had in the corporate world. I was getting by a little bit more money. So I started working with Pete, and Pete and I would literally dial for dollars, call bookkeepers, get them. There was no website. There was no email. I mean, we had emails, but there was no branding brochure, nothing. It was a concept. We have this intellectual property. Do you want this? This is the promise. Do you want to be like Debbie? And so that was the beginning for me with Pure Bookkeeping. And while doing it, I was like, how can we make this bigger? How can we make this better? It grew like a weed because people needed it, wanted it, and it really worked. And so it was the start. And I loved being able to help bookkeepers. I mean, nobody really even knows bookkeepers that well. Whenever I talk about bookkeepers, what are they? They take care of books or something in libraries? No, these are the people that ensure that all the financial details of your company are impeccable and there's insight and information so that an accountant can actually do their job. And if that's not done right, you have big problems. And so I loved that aspect of it. And they're wonderful people. I actually loved having conversations with it. They were all of them are so coachable. I just absolutely loved coaching these people. And so it kind of went through, we moved back to Canada and it kind of went into kind of a stall. But then in 2013, a fellow was trying to get it to go bring Pure Bookkeeping to other countries. And Canada was one of those countries. And he gave a crack at it. And I was like, all the power to you. I was doing other things. Life actually got in the way. My dad was sick with cancer. He was trying to build a house. And I was busy trying to help my dad finish this house while he's dying. And so they're trying to launch this thing and the guy failed. And so Peter called me up and he's like, look, this thing's failed. Do you want to take a crack at this? I'm like, you know what? Just at that time in my life, I said, yes, this looks like, you know what? Let's do this. And so I grabbed it back by the horns and really just got into this laboratory, as I like to call it, my laboratory of trying to figure out how do we do it and build this company, but not build it in a way that it's going to take all sorts of people and, a whole bunch of infrastructure, but how do we make it really lean, really mean? And so that became the curiosity of how can I grow this business and have 1,000 bookkeepers working with Pure Bookkeeping, helping them grow their business. And so it started, and it was like, bootstrapping. Let's go back to the phones. Let's get bookkeepers out, do webinars. And I really had to get better at presenting. I had to get better at selling. I had to get better at marketing. So all of these different things that it was like, oh, cool. How do I do that? It's like, let's figure that out. Internet marketing, cool. Digital marketing, interesting. Social media, interesting, right? It's like, different pieces of it I really like, some I don't, and I don't do those, right? And so it was just this, I think that's what's kept me going at it, is that I love the people, I love the product, and I actually love the learning that I've been getting because I've been able to build some really cool things. The six, in 2000 and let's see, we launched in Canada in 2013, and then in 2000 started writing a book called The Successful Bookkeeper, and the story of Debbie Roberts and Peter Cook and how to build the book is, the tagline is The Formula to Building a Six-Figure Business and Beyond. And it details all of those steps and the things that you need to do if you're a bookkeeper and want to do that, what you need to do. But as I was writing the book, I met Michael Gerber. Now, Michael Gerber, for the listener right now, if you don't know Michael Gerber, you need to pick up his book, E-Myth Revisited. It's an amazing book. It's all about building a system-dependent business, a business that runs itself, and the concept of being, you want to work on your business, not in your business. And often bookkeepers fall into this trap because they're technicians. And technicians, they're good at what they do, but they get into business and they don't have a sniff as to what they need to do to build a business that actually thrives and grows beyond them. And so I met Michael, told him about Deb and Pete, and I wanted to get a signed copy done for Deb and Pete, send it over to them. They would have, they'd think highly of that and wanted to send them a nice gift like that. And Michael loved the concept. He's like, he couldn't believe it, right? Like at that time, there was about 400 Pure Bookkeeping licensees using this, and he just absolutely loved it. So I got them in touch, and they ended up writing E-Myth Bookkeeper. And that was a big breakthrough, not only for Deb and Pete, but also for the business. And for us, is a real piece of content, highly credible piece of content that started to get the word out about what we were doing and what we had to offer. So that process, and then marketing that book and using that as a nurturing tool to help educate people that would be interested in something like this and bring them along that buying journey. And then in 2016, launched a podcast, and really launched a podcast at the time that the book, The Successful Bookkeeper, was done. So all of that learning, how do we write a book? How do we get a book out? How do we actually use a book to build our business? The book isn't about, I don't want to make money on the book. I want the book to support me in building my audience, support my customers, current and future customers, right? And then launching a podcast. Okay, how are we going to do that? How do we make this work? How do we get it to be popular? How do we get a whole bunch of people? And now we're up to almost 10,000 downloads a month with that podcast. I mean, I have bookkeepers all over the world. I've shipped this book, The Successful Bookkeeper, to just, it seems like just about every country. I'm blown away at the reach of this audience. And so that's been this fun game of how do we build this massive audience of people that call me instead of me calling them? Because that's going back to my early years, I grew up on a farm. And growing up on a farm, there's one thing that goes along with a farm, and the word starts with W. It's called work, right? There's lots of work on a farm. And it's not like, fun work. It's like dirty, hard, sweaty work. Always. There's no end to it. It never ends. Stuff keeps growing, things grow, and things keep deteriorating, right? So you got to build a fence one year, you got to rebuild another one the next, because it's always in a state of deterioration or growth. It's crazy. So I learned how to work, and I learned how to work really hard, but I didn't like working really hard. In fact, I remember saying to my dad, it's like, okay, you want me to dig all of these fence holes, and then you want me to put the posts in, and then you want to build this fence, and then you want me to paint this thing? There's got to be a better way. Dad, have you ever heard of a backhoe, right? I always thought, how can we do this faster, better, easier? My dad was always, let's just do it with good old-fashioned hard work. So I think at an early age, my thinking was always, how do we make this easier? How do we work smarter? So my love of technology, my love of business, my love of making things smarter and easier and better with Michael Gerber and systems and process and making things easy and repeatable, it all sort of just gets combined. So that's where this curiosity and as well just, really has just kept me interested this whole time. And now we're just at the beginning, feels like, because of the launch into the United States, where there's 355 million people down there, John. It's crazy.
But okay, so let's talk about something like this as like a new sort of venture, new sort of project, right? So you obviously have a lot going on. Canada's a huge place too. And like, is the venture into the States because you feel like you've now got Canada conquered, you got Canada under control, or the fact that there's still a lot of room for growth here, but the systems are in place that it can continue? Like, why didn't you go to the United States last year? Because there was still 350 million people there rather than this year.
Hindsight, John. It comes down to hindsight. If I could do it all over again, John, I would have likely gone to the U.S. first. But hindsight's always 2020. And so the things we learned in Canada were valuable and helped us launch into the United States. But the big barrier to entry for us is these systems and documentation, they're massive and they have to be translated. So if you think of a business like bookkeeping, it's technical. So there's a lot of technical components to it. There's software, there's multiple softwares. How do we actually translate it? We had to translate it from Australia to make it accessible and unique for Canadians. And that took 9 months to do for 2 different software programs. So we have a training module and process. So it's not like training to how to use the program, it's how to use the program in a business, right? And so QuickBooks Online, Sage 50, which used to be simply accounting, we've built those manuals as well as testing modules to test people on their capabilities with those. That takes a ton of time. And it's really, really detailed minutia type stuff that has to get done. So why did we take as long? It took us that long just sort of get established in Canada, get all the things sort of tweaked out. And we've made, when I started in 2013 with Canada, it was all manuals. It was like binders. We're going to ship you out binders. Well, in 2015, we said, bye-bye binders. We went digital and we created learning modules and everything online. That was a massive undertaking. And so it's just this like journey of how do we make it better? How do we figure this out in the Canadian market, which is where I lived. So that was a natural first choice. And then, but really, US, it's different. They're different buying. They buy differently. I've already noticed, it's only been a couple of months that we've been selling in there, but they are very ambitious people, very business savvy people. And so their hunger for something like this is a lot, I find so far, that they're hungrier for this offering than in Canada. It's a lot slower of a sales. I mean, I've got people, I literally closed a client a couple of months ago. She was evaluating us for 18 months. 18 months. An evaluation for 18. She's like, I wanted to buy this 18 months ago, but I've been slowly working on getting, the courage or whatever up, or whatever she needed to get up to get in with Pure Bookkeeping and actually make the investment. And so what I'm finding in the US is a lot faster. They're like, hey, this makes sense. Let's do this. Not to say that one's right or wrong. I mean, I'm a Canadian and I transact the same way, but I just, now what I know and what I can see, it probably would have grown faster if we were in the US first. But then again, there would have been new problems, new challenges. So
with Australia and with Canada, I noticed you said that you were dialing for dollars, which literally means, I'm sure, cold calling, getting on the phone and talking directly to people. Is this the same way you're entering the States?
No, that's the big difference is the podcast and the book and as well Facebook marketing are the ways that we're built. I mean, we're not calling anybody at all. And I don't call anybody anymore now. That was first, just to get established. But we build our list. We build our mailing list, our email list, really. And I have partnerships with associations that have close relationships with my audience. And so I constantly give value, content, free courses, all sorts of goodies that I'm constantly giving and helping nurture and educate the marketplace so that they end up calling me. And so that's been the strategy for the US because in Canada, the way our model would work is we would get people, educate them, talk about what we do, and then have them come out to a seminar, give them value and teach them a bunch of things around growth. Like we'll teach them some sales and marketing strategies. We teach them some HR strategies, like hiring strategies. the different strategies that Deb used to grow her business, we teach those, but it's an opportunity for them to buy. It's a teachable with an offer at the end of that seminar. And so that's how we would sell. I would go out and I would do these seminars for bookkeepers, fill up the room and go and do the seminars.
Are those paid seminars?
They're paid. Yeah.
Nice.
These
Wow.
are paid, not expensive.
Right.
You know, we have we call it the 7 Secrets Value Pack. So the 7 Secrets of Growing Your Bookkeeping Business, it's $99. They get the eMyth Bookkeeper. They get an online training program to prep for the course. So it's like they do a SWOT analysis. They do a whole bunch of thinking around their business, kind of building a business plan. And then they come to the seminar or webinar and they learn a bunch more stuff. They get a whole bunch of templates and sample templates. And as well, they get a coaching session with one of our teammates, right?
Wow.
So there's a lot. It's almost free, right? It's almost free. So it's a loss leader, but it's not free, right? I never liked the total free offering because people don't show up, right? They don't have any skin in the game. And so I need to have enough skin in the game, but as well, I don't want to, I have to get people in the door and make sure that it's at a right pricing level that they're going to be able to do that. So if I were to try and do the US market the same way I did the Canadian market, I think I could go really fast, but I'd be on a plane every week and I wouldn't see my family. And I have a 2.5-year-old boy, and that's not part of my Work Smart program. So
you're just not doing it.
Yeah. But again, John, this is where that curiosity comes in and almost this challenge of, can I actually build this business where I don't need to travel anywhere? And so that's what drives me. It's like every day I wake up, I'm trying to solve that particular problem. And I'm getting close and I'm doing well, but I'd like to grow at a factor of 10 of where we're at. So we're playing with the pricing models. We're going to split things up a little bit, have some different entry levels into our main offering. So we're just tweaking the dial. But this year we've brought on about, 18 new clients where I literally have not even had a conversation with them prior to them buying. I give them enough information and enough nurturing prior to even having a conversation with anybody here. There is no sales call, nothing. And they're buying and investing in a pretty decent size investment for their business. I mean, big payback, but it's not like you just wake up one day and, let's just spend this money on. It's enough of an investment that it's big. But that's how far we've been able to get in that there is no conversation and they're buying a very large ticket item online.
It's $5,000, right?
It is. Well,
or is that the basic? Is it confusing?
It's not necessarily. So used to be $7,000. Okay. And so if we wanted to pay for it in monthly payments, it's more expensive, but
right.
Let's just call it $7,000. That's a big purchase price plus a monthly ongoing payment. So there's a monthly license every month that they're paying. It's small, it's $60, but still all these things add up. They have to make a decision whether this is going to be a fit for them. Now we're actually breaking it up and having parts of the license, giving them access to only parts of the system so that there's a lower entry point. And so our lowest entry point will be $4,000. Okay. So we're hoping that will help increase the conversions again without having to get onto the phone.
Okay. And so what happens if it doesn't stick as you're always looking for in the States without you getting on a plane every week and just going out and doing it the way you've done it every other time?
I'm going to make it work, John, or I'm going to die trying. That's what I said when I crossed the starting line of Ironman Canada back in 2005. I was that committed to finishing that race that I said, I'm either going to die, I'm going to finish this thing, or I'm going to die trying. That's my mindset at the point. Now, looking back, I think that was stupid. Like, why would you put yourself at that risk? But I can't speak for that younger me, but now I say, man, chill out, dude. But it's the way I look at things. I am going to figure it out, John. I'm going to figure it out. And so I will figure it out. And that's really, I guess, what separates us as entrepreneurs is that we will pivot, but we are dedicated to actually achieving whatever it is that's important to us. And for me, it's very important that I don't have to fly all over the United States doing this. And so I'm highly committed and motivated to figure it out. And I'm seeing signs that that's possible. And if I didn't see signs this far along, I probably would have pivoted already, but I'm on track and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, people sell even higher ticket items the way you're trying to do it. So it can definitely be done. And I love the fact that, the system works, that your side of the business works at this point. So you don't have to also try and figure that out. That's like a system that's proven to you. You're just trying to bring it to a new market. So you got to just try and find and fit a way into that market.
You got it. And that piece of that learning, like other people are doing it, it's like that entices me. I'm like, I have to find them. I have to learn more from them. I want to, I'm a sponge. I want to understand it. So, for me, that's part of that passionate piece is that I really love the journey. And so I'm not even thinking of whether or not it will or won't work. I know it's going to work. And like you say, other people are doing it. So therefore, I should be able to. And you're right. I've got a great product. It works. If I didn't, be a different story. We'd be at a different stage.
Exactly. I love it, Michael. I love it. This has been a blast, man. I do want to wrap up on one final question for you, if I could. It's this idea I'm working with calling the entrepreneurial gap, which seems to be, after talking to almost 400 entrepreneurs, this gap that we live in, that no matter what we accomplish as entrepreneurs, as dreamers, as growers, is that we always project our own personal successes into the future, right? So once you see that certain revenue metric in the United States in 6 months, you'll see yourself as successful. Once you've completely conquered all 350 million people in the States with Pure Bookkeeping, you'll see yourself as successful. Whatever it happens to be, Michael, we both know that seconds before you hit any of those goals, you're going to set 5, 10 bigger, loftier goals into the future, which I agree we need to do. But it's like walking towards the horizon. The further you walk, the further away it always gets. And from the outside, you look like you're knocking it out of the park, but I know you're looking forward. So I would love it if you could stop just for a moment. Stop looking forward, stop and turn around and look behind you. This whole crazy journey from, just starting small businesses before university, going through university, all that, through Salesforce, through starting multiple companies and running them now and growing them. I would love to know just how you feel about this whole entire crazy journey up until today.
It's a great question. And I think one of your questions in the pre-emails had me somewhat thinking about this. And it's, I feel like I'm further behind than I feel like I'm ahead often. And I look back and I think, it's that hindsight comment that I made. Hindsight's always 20/20, but I think that's one of the, whether it's a pro or con for me, it's one of those self-limiting things, but I'm hard on myself. I'm hard on, like, I should be further ahead. I want to be bigger. I want to get there faster. So looking back, I think whilst I can sit here and go, wow, we did some cool things, I often think, why am I not moving more quickly? Why haven't I figured this out in a better way? Those sorts of things. So I think for me, that's maybe, if that answers your question around the gap a little bit, it's hard to sort of say, do I need to have that to keep me moving forward, to make me run harder, to make me strive bigger? Or is that something that I could work on, that, I can not have that angst or that anxiety or frustration of not getting there fast enough? Because you said it looks from the outside, you look like everything's going great. And in many ways it is, for some people that are sitting over there saying, hey, oh, gee, if I just want to, and I was that guy, right? It's like, if I only had that, what's that idea? I need this opportunity that I can go and sink my teeth into. I was at that point at one stage where it's like, I couldn't see it, couldn't find it. And it's like, when's it going to come? And then it came, and then I've sunk my teeth into it, and it's going pretty good. But then I'm turning around again and I'm looking forward, right? It's hard for me to look back, right? There's a good saying, who buys a 120-foot boat? The guy who owns the 80-foot boat, right? And so I think it's innate we're constantly turning and looking for those bigger gaps. But I think that speaks to the fault in that, is that if we do that too much, we don't appreciate where we've been, where we're getting to, and the whole point of the journey, right? And so I guess that would be my take on it for sure.
I like it. And it's true. It's just an appreciation of it's all we have is the journey. Really, no matter how it's turning out, you might as well enjoy aspects of it, because we are where we are right now. But you can also use that to motivate you, to push you further if you want.
Absolutely. It's a game. And I think that's why these questions are great that you ask them, right? And get people, like, even for me right now, having this thought, it just brings me to, hey, wait a second, just appreciate this, have some fun. This is a game and I'm enjoying the game. But, if I forget for a little bit that it's a game, it doesn't feel like a game anymore, and it actually turns back into work. And so that's not smart. So I think questions like that are good to go, hey, wait a second, let's hit the reset button here. This is a lot of fun. Let's have some fun. We're going at the rate we can. Can we lift up the weights a little higher, a little heavier? Sure, but let's appreciate what we've got.
All right. So, Michael, we've got to talk about your business in passing. Well, we got to talk about one of your businesses in passing, which was purebookkeeping.com. So, but we didn't even touch on eCircle Academy, which is another company you have where you help coaches, consultants, authors, speakers, facilitators. So now's the point. Can you just give the audience specifically just the quick pitch about Pure Bookkeeping, where to find you guys online, and then eCircle Academy?
Absolutely. So for Pure Bookkeeping, if you're a bookkeeper or you want to be a bookkeeper or want to have a bookkeeping firm, I mean, it's a very lucrative and awesome opportunity. If you're a detail-oriented person or have great management, I mean, I highly recommend that industry. I mean, I see opportunity exploding over there. Bookkeepersrock.com. Go there, bookkeepersrock.com. Go there, get into the free stuff. Listen to our podcast, The Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. Get the book. You can get a free copy. You just pay the shipping, $7. There's lots all available there at bookkeepersrock.com. And of course, the URL is purebookkeeping.com to go to our direct site. But Bookkeepers Rock is so much easier to remember. And then
eCircle. Heard of this before.
Yeah. And then eCircle Academy is another passion project. And we actually help and mentor people to do what I'm doing, right? It's like kind of a natural fit over here. And as I mentioned, the lab, I'm out here working in the lab trying to figure out how do we build an audience? How do we establish ourselves as an authority? How do we have people calling us to do business and be known in the marketplace? This whole concept of being a thought leader is, an expert, a person who really has an expertise. That's one level. But if you think of the next level above that would be to be known. If you were known for expertise, we would say that you would be considered a thought leader. And that's from one of my mentors, Matt Church, who is from Australia, and where I learned a lot about developing thought leadership and your own intellectual property and unpacking what you know. We live a whole life. The things that we do, we've got these unique experiences. You do, John, the listener does, I do. And our own lens of life, right? I grew up on a farm, did all these different things. Well, all of that experience is extremely valuable to a few people on the planet. And those few people could be 1,000 or 100,000 people. And so how do you actually do that? How do you unpack that in a way that's extremely valuable and contagious, if you will, so that you can become known? Well, that's what we do in eCircle Academy. We train a curriculum that I found and participated in Australia called Thought Leaders Business School. And we offer that curriculum and as well a whole bunch of other things that help coaches, consultants, authors, facilitators, and entrepreneurs develop their own thought leadership and build their authority in the marketplace. And so if you're interested in something like that and doing some of the things that I've been talking about and learning more about that, you can go to authorityrocks.com. There you go. We got two. Bookkeepersrock.com, authorityrocks.com if you're the one that wants to build authority. And we have a ton of fun. We've got some really, really awesome people in our community that are really, really from just starting out to really, really successful people who have really honed expertise and are growing massive businesses where they're doing $500,000 a year in revenue as a single person, as a solopreneur, if you will.
Yeah.
So really, really cool stuff. And we'd love to give you some more information on that. If you're interested, go to the authorityrocks.com, start listening to our podcast. We do a podcast called The Business of Thought Leadership, and you can get that at thebusinessofthoughtleadership.com. Some great guests, up to some really cool things as well.
Very cool. So we've got a lot of links on hacktheentrepreneur.com for you. This all, I think the whole, not the conversation necessarily, but this business that you've built starts with Michael Gerber and the E-Myth Revisited or Mastery, whichever one. But absolutely fascinating book that I've mentioned hundreds of times on this show. Michael Gerber was on this show last summer, I believe it was. So we had a very heated discussion, I would call it. It went a little off the rails at times in a Michael Gerber fashion, which was awesome. But I will link to that. I can do a pretty good Michael Gerber impersonation if you're interested. We'll leave that to him, I think.
Oh, John, you got to have me back, I guess, right?
So the Michael Gerber episode will be linked, and then it goes into the E-Myth Bookkeeper, which is the book, which then leads us to Pure Bookkeeping and the successfulbookkeeper.com, which then leads us to bookkeepersrock.com, eCircle Academy, authorityrocks.com, and then the Business of Thought Leadership podcast.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. So when you are done walking, jogging, working out, whatever it is you're doing right now, it'll be waiting over there, hacktheentrepreneur.com. Into the search bar, you can type Michael Palmer, and you will find every single one of those links for you right there. Michael, once again, man, thanks so much for taking the time to join me. Thanks for sharing so openly. And please just keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's awesome and inspiring to watch.
Thank you. And the same goes back to you, John. Thanks for doing what you do, helping entrepreneurs improve, think different, and move their businesses forward. Man, that's what we need to help our communities and our families thrive. So my hat's off to you.
Just before we get into tracking down today's hack, I would love to tell you once again about designcrowd.com. DesignCrowd is a website that helps entrepreneurs and small business owners like you and myself outsource, or as they call it, crowdsource, custom graphic work, logos, and web design from designers around the world. DesignCrowd has more than 550,000 designers right now from over 100 countries, ready to help you and your business with any creative and design projects you might have. Check out designcrowd.com/hack. That's DESIGNCROWD, designcrowd.com/hack for a special VIP offer for Hack the Entrepreneur listeners. Well, I really, really, really enjoyed that. But do you know what I enjoy even more sometimes than the actual conversations themselves? It's going back. It's going back and digging into the conversation to find that one thing. You ready? All right, let's do it. Let's find the hack.
And it was an opportunity for me to make some more money. At that time, I wasn't making as much money as I had in the corporate world. I was getting by a little bit more money. So I started working with Pete, and Pete and I would literally dial for dollars, call bookkeepers, get them. There was no website. There was no email. I mean, we had emails, but there was no like branding brochure, nothing. It was a concept. We have this intellectual property. Do you want this? This is the promise. Do you want to be like Debbie? And so that was the beginning for me with Pure Bookkeeping.
And that's the hack. Michael. I absolutely love this. I don't know how many times I used to ask myself this, and I've been asked this, and I've heard people asking this question is, how do you get something started? How do you start a business? You have the idea. How do you get rolling? I love this. So it was an opportunity. So Pure Bookkeeping, now 7 or 8 years later, was an opportunity is how it started. And Michael put his head down and he started dialing for dollars, as he says. I absolutely love this. So this is cold calling. This is literally hustling to make sales. Software companies, huge, massive companies still to this day do this, have rooms full of hundreds of people dialing for dollars. I've never cold called people, but this is the hustle. You can do this via email. You can do this. This is what it takes. This is what separates people whose businesses become that thing that we talk about. They start with a founder who just wants to hustle, right? So dialing for dollars, but then he's like, we have this concept. You have this concept that you believe in. You got to get it to people. And then I love how he brings in, I believe it was Debbie he uses as the example, and bring in her idea and sort of that story about how she overcame this problem and how you can too. So he had a hook. He had a hook that he then sat down and dialed, called people over and over. You can track down, in Michael's case, he could track down bookkeeping companies either through the yellow pages at that time or now on the internet, obviously. You can find your ideal customer or a customer that you think could be of value to your service or could get value from your service or your product. Call them. Get them on the phone. If they don't respond, which they won't, if they don't buy right away, which they won't, call them back or move to the next one. This is literally, it's to a certain degree, it's about hustle and it's about getting the numbers right, meaning that you call enough people. I belong to subreddit on Reddit, sales, r sales. You can track it down. People in there selling all kinds of products, from enterprise software to widgets per se. They talk about making like 100 cold calls a day, every single day, and making really good money from it. That to me is crazy, but that's what it takes. That is absolutely what it takes to get rolling. So I absolutely love, Michael, that you brought this here, because lots of us have this idea. The idea now is that you have to get it to your potential customer. Put your head down, dial for dollars. Thank you again, Michael. Whew, well, that was a lot of fun. HackTheEntrepreneur.com. Head over there, get onto the email list. Download the book if you would like. If you want to learn more about defining your 20 and finding out what you should be focusing on, check out a new short little mini video course I've created for that. I've had a whole bunch of people going through it, getting some great feedback on it so far. It's a short 3-part video series. Takes you about an hour and a half to go through, and then it's something you can implement each week into your life to find out what you should focus on, allow you to get more done in less time, which really should be the goal, right? So at hacktheentrepreneur.com/define-your-20, DYT, or just look for Work With Us at the top of the old website there. All right, it's been fun. Thank you so much for stopping by. I absolutely appreciate it. And please, until next time, keep hacking the entrepreneur.